more of our debates have been online than in person. We've just been speaking from. Yeah, it's perfect.
We can swap right now. That's fine.
Wait. Okay. The one AC sent. Or is anyone already? Plan the United States should vest liability for breach of fiduciary duties in artificially intelligent financial investment advisor. Advantage 1 is adoption. Robo-advisors occupy a legal gray area that makes adoption impossible. That's Liability 17. Robo-advisors meet fiduciary standard begs the question of who can be held liable in legal pursuit of liability. If representative gave unsuitable advice and representative's conduct breaches fiduciary duty, firm is liable for that breach of robo-advisors. Poor design give rise to the conduct that breaches fiduciary duty. Alternative liability will be needed to fill the gaps, and that will become impossible for human to explain. Failure to violate the first fiduciary duty, algorithmic complexity, making conduct difficult to explain. Underlying abilities will change, becoming harder to explain, becomes difficult to assign liability. If the advisor provides services beyond investment advice and the fiduciary standard does not provide a liability framework, the plan solves. It clarifies the extent of fiduciary duties and it generates compliance. That's Liability 17. AI Personhood. Why should law treat the two differently? Adopting legal fiction that AI is a quasi-person. AI makes decisions and act independently. They complex decisions arise. Developer has done everything right. Sophisticated network makes an autonomous decision to change its reasoning. The commission created a specific legal status for robots in the U.S. should follow suit. The theory considers ML algorithm as a standalone entity, and liability is directed toward the party bear the loss, and the incentivizes the firm to oversee the algorithm and ensure it complies. Liability hinges on the algorithm. Allow for to escape liability if the algorithm was hacked or if the algorithm redesigns itself. Society no longer believes employer is at fault. Scenario 1 is innovation. Robo-advisor innovation is being stifled by unclear guidelines. That's Streckle 17. The courts have not addressed the issues. Investors are beginning to question fiduciary duty. SEC declaring robo-advisors to be registered investment advisors. There is still no consensus that their fiduciary capacity contradicting regulations complicate this question in the current environment and stifle robo-advisors, and rather than allow them to provide benefits to the market and the solutions optimize investment industry, better protect investors. A failure to clarify fiduciary duties undermines legal and investor certainty, which collapses innovation. That's Strike 17. The advisors act unequipped to protect investors from a robo-advisor lack of protection, negatively impact innovative solutions, and Congress unable to deliver as to whether robo-advisor has a fiduciary duty and stand to be excessive litigation as far as more firms turn to robo-advisors than case laws non-existent without clear fiduciary duty. Aggrieved investors turn to complex, difficult claims. Innovative robo-advisors solve climate change. That's Campbell 18. Robo-advisors help impact investing grow, and robo-advisors take a small percentage then and make investment more profitable. When you add increased access and you see robo-advisor appeal, and we move closer to midnight on the Doomsday Clock, our footprint grows. Investing in the planet's future seem impossible on Wall Street. Robo-advisors are committed to sustainable companies and are only investing companies deemed sustainable using ESG criteria. Robo-advisors will use impact investing to change the world. Climate change causes extinction. That's Andre 22. Climate change is existential, created domino effect that ripples, making areas unlivable, and climate change could be catastrophic, even at modest warming. And climate has played a role in every mass extinction. Paths are not limited to direct impacts and financial crisis, conflict, and disease could trigger other calamities and nuke war. Scenario 2 is trust, unaccountable financial AI shatters trust. That's Caviar 22. Assigning objects with liability. AI are the newest iteration. Crime is committed. No human or entity controlled by humans prevented it, and AI agents like recognition of person cannot be held responsible. Include algorithms have dimensional mens rea. Since AI non-legal persons, there is no recourse to apply mens rea to acts committed by them. Non-legal persons excluded from culpability because person are maintaining a status quo AI application free from control of in a society without tools hold it accountable. Liability is key. That's Josie 16. Robo-advice expand coverage and include alternative investments, and adoption has implication on the way present digital systems interact with customers, ensure customer journey smooth, and robo-advisor learn adoption is essential to scale and depth. Liability critical systems need to be built to ensure trust and adoption. Investors need to be assured assets are safe. That's key to adoption. Trust is the largest internal link that's beyond Emory. 21, trust key driver of financial decisions. Trustful investors make more likely to invest in trust key driver of advice on adoption. What you need to make technology work is trust, unmitigated uncertainty, risk of collaboration, enabling trust or anticipate trustee act in trusters' best interest. Trust in these algorithms is key for advisor adoption. It addresses the largest proximate cause of inequality that's bouncing in Liability 17. The digital solutions democratize finance by making investments accessible and make tailored investment solutions access sophisticated classes and troublous fees, no assets requirements to benefit from returns in finance, leading drivers of inequality and evolution of wealth inequality. Rate of return on capital and greater than the growth rate in capital investments play critical role in increasing inequalities and rising inequality. Most pressing global issues and advisors offer access by to diversified investment portfolios and financial services at lower cost and freeze fall further, enable broader distortion in middle class finance. Show planning democratize. A large population has been excluded from investing. Inequality erodes institutional capacity that causes extinction. That's Schmidt and Judge 21. The country's long-term performance depends on the quality of institutions, and good institutions will help reduce existential risk and inequality. Reduce institutional quality and inequality lead to elite capture, and elite capture increase existential risk and high inequality. Reduce social capital and trust. Societies with lower inequality exhibit greater resilience to external shock. Nuclear warheads, cyber and nuclear weapons could lead to global escalation, polarization, increased risk of conflict. Evidence suggests inequality increases polarization and also play a role in getting populist candidates elected. Populist politicians less cooperate and prefer more conflictual and nationalistic policy. Advantage 2 is harmonization. Contradictory SEC and FINRA interpretations on the fiduciary's duties of robo-advisors undermines the global financial system. That's 17. The judiciary controls lag behind the devices. Regulatory bodies unable to process and ensure investors in the economy are protected. Judiciary need only to look to grant of human advisors and the fiduciary duty untangling counteractive regulations as to the robo-advisor. A question inability to define the relation and complicate the global financial system in each day without legal guidance means opportunity for dramatic losses, a lack of remedy for investors, and having Congress settle the question of fiduciary status, eliminating difference between SEC, FINRA, and DOL interpretations of the legislation address the heightened systemic risk and steps falling short of providing the investor protection and creating safeguards against systemic risk. The plan solves a choice of compliance with existing financial law. That's CUF 20. Fiduciary duties of AI arise from its status. AI meet fiduciary standards, and AI gathering information about clients' intentions. Direct relationship enables legal personality of AI for parties, and they obtain the right to represent client and fiduciary relationship. Representation is a human idea and a human operator. Recognize AI as a fiduciary duty by consent. Delegate AI legally significant rights and duties. AI is perceived as a reliable actor but not recognized by law as a person, and the client relationship with robo-advisors occur with limited, if any, human interaction construed as an investment advisor and subject to substantial fiduciary obligation. Robo-advisors meet fiduciary duties for investment robo-advisors and fuller qualification as an investment advisor. The personal status is important. The IAA states only a natural person or company can be an advisor, and robo-advisor should be a person. The robo-advisor is a quasi-artificial person with fiduciary obligation. Absent that, there will be recognition of personality at the individual level, but unclear guidelines at the legal level. This CUF 20 fiduciary relationship raises the question of liability premise on the breach of duties, and the fiduciary is not subject to obligation because he is a fiduciary. It is because he is subject to the method. He is a fiduciary. AI does not have legal personality. It cannot be held liable in its own capacity. Legal status of AI held form a separate fund of AI and used for compensation of damage without personality. AI cannot contest a verdict, take the stand in court, and almost legal personality with potential liability of AI is recognized validation of personality when made on a personal level with all this. AI advisor has duties of good faith breach leads to fraud. Fiduciary standards are key. That's for 17. The FINRA's inability to establish fiduciary standards pose a risk to the global economy is directly contrast SEC guidance and FINRA and the SEC published conflicting reports declaring fiduciary status of robo-advisors. FINRA declares robo-advisors have no fiduciary duty. FINRA refuses to declare fiduciary duty. It leaves investors vulnerable and investors in violation of the Company Act and SEC regulation and firms express condemnation. Despite rhetoric, the FINRA has this question to the SEC, which has refused to address these contradictions, and harmonization is key to effective and regulated verdicts. The alternative is economic collapse. As Clinton 17, the reg coordination oversight of capital markets and the SEC advanced mission to protect investors and ensure markets and facilitate capital transformation. The SEC shares financial space with other regulators. Coordination is essential to regulatory functioning, and markets and inconsistent fragmented regulation is inefficient and provides market failures and improper conduct. These have lasting effects on economy and SEC FINRA regulated firms and in the treasury and future markets, and enforcement is close coordination critical. Economic crisis causes war. That's Letitia and Lazaro 21. Financial link between financial crisis and deterioration of peace highlighted by studies and data. A reveals correlation between crises and wars, and the line stress the link between financial crisis and collapse. And the Lou warned economic crisis cause a global conflict. Tensions raise concerns regarding a repetition of the 1930s led to World War II. The dangerous link between the economy and peace has come to the fore. That causes escalation. That tames 20. Economic crisis lead to security crisis. This could happen given the blow inflicted on the world economy. The world is very anxious. Regional conflicts could see escalation and miscalculation, and the more people, more weaponry get involved in full more both world wars plus escalation. It's a risk regional conflicts play out externally. Regulatory harmonization solves cybersecurity. That's clean in 20. Regulatory coordination in times of economic stress. Consumers depend on financial services and markets, and efforts significantly mitigated consequences. Orderly market is essential to capital markets will be essential in response to volatility. The pipes of markets function and functional risk, including cyber security bursts, are are ever present. SEC coordination has been central to these and other efforts. Russia will target financial system AI in response to sanctions. That's triggering 22 financial institutions utilizing AI susceptible to regulate retaliatory Russian cyber attacks as sanctions worsen. Experts fear institution rapid reliance on machine learning bite them in the ass, and vulnerability significant overlooked, and institutions rely on them in an account of risk and data susceptible to attacks, and actors targeting financial institutions deploy data to attack algorithms, and any potential vulnerabilities can be fast. Attacks last longer. Russian cyber attacks escalate. That's Pride 22. U.S. risking cyber gun with Russia and cyber warfare is an existential threat. Explode the world's power keg, and Russia will invade, sparking a conflict with the U.S. that will force all out cyber warfare. And cyber expert Roche warns that America is far more vulnerable than Russia. And Russia is capable of launching an attack that could shut down 80% of America's grid during crisis, and the Russia presents a heightened danger with a potential to disrupt the balancing calculus dependent upon nuclear deterrence. The U.S. is running out of time to harden against cyber warfare. Even if Russian attacks don't cause nuclear war, U.S. cyber retail will. That's Grubbs coding of Operation 22 that these measures will trigger Russian retaliation. Conflict will not come to an end. Russia will have several tools. One of those will be carrying out cyber attacks against American financial institutions. Americans will have a few choices other than to respond with offensive cyber strikes. This hit for retaliation placed Russia and the West on the path in conflicts, spilling out of cyberspace into a conflict between nuclear wars with extensive cyber capabilities.
Are you good?
Yeah.
The whiteboard card, what card says that robo-advisors will meet the fiduciary standard?
I think all of our evidence is talking about how the legal threat of a fiduciary duty and being threatened in court is what generates compliance.
I guess what card do you think says that?
So our advantage has like nothing to do with like the AI specifically understanding the fiduciary duty, but more broadly, the what?
Why not?
Because the advantage is about innovation in the context of how manufacturers and like firms and banks perceive the fiduciary duty.
Okay, I guess that makes sense. The climate scenario, this Campbell card, what is the reason it solves climate change? This card is just like it can make some businesses sustainable, and it's like the ESG is like good.
No, I disagree. The Campbell evidence is specifically saying that robo-advisors take a smaller percentage than human advisors and make investments seem more profitable, but when you add like increased access of ESG criteria, robo-advisors sort of appeal to more, reducing the eco footprint, et cetera, instead of taking like impossible levels of profit.
What card gives a warrant that it meets the threshold of solving warning?
Campbell is very good on that question.
What part? It's like could help us see change in the world. It's like aspirational for like social justice.
No, it's using terms like the planet's future, the future of the world. I would say that's like pretty.
Many of us are already living an eco-friendly lifestyle, investing in the planet's future. That does not mean it's solved.
No, it's talking about how individuals might do like shit like recycling and whatever, but that doesn't matter if big firms are not sort of engaging in impact investment through robo-advisors.
Okay. The inequality stuff, the Bernstein and I guess why do the adoption of financial advisors reduce inequality broadly?
The Brownstein evidence specifically says that the sort of division in investment portfolios between the ultra-rich and, the middle class of the United States is what's causing sort of a difference in financial assets that exacerbates inequality.
Okay. Advantage 2, I want to talk about the cyber tech stuff. So the Daguerrean card is like Russia will retaliate because of sanctions. I guess why would they still not commit cyber attacks post-plan?
So the argument is that those cyber attacks will occur, but the question is whether we will be prepared for them, right? So if they attack financial institutions that utilize AI, we need to ensure that our machine learning models can both, expect them, know when they're coming, and also sort of close vulnerabilities that would allow full markets to collapse.
How's the plan solve for that?
That's the card right above it. It's Clean and 20. It's about regulatory coordination. In times of market volatility, you have different institutions like the SEC, Congress, et cetera, coordinating for financial laws that close cybersecurity risks.
The last question I have is TRI and Krebs both seem to be about infrastructure attacks. What is the internal link between a bank getting hacked and then that
It's about financial institutions utilizing AI.
Well, yes, but the PRI card is about grids. Russia's capable of.
It's saying that once all financial institutions and like the market broadly goes down, then 80% of the grid will go down.
Every bank in the U.S. and that causes.
No, it says that it would just have to be a cyber attack on one financial institution. That's because the market is so interconnected, which is the thesis of both advantages. Yeah.
It's 4 auth, advantage 1, advantage 2.
Policy Article 1, contemplate the United States Congress, United College Delegate, Article 1, power establish special law, the tribunal hereby referred to Article 1, tribunal overseeing states related to artificial intelligence, United States federal government should consent to the tribunal, should provide administrative redress compensation when they breach the standards of being a fiduciary, financial fiduciary, the cannabis laws, best advancing with the hand type, delicious voice, calling, 14, Article 3, Congress, General Congress, establish specialized law, Article 3, tribunal, focus with the care of the law, with understanding expertise, usually compensation, the law, tax, or possess, specialized knowledge, handle compensation, Congress, establish courts for efficiency, cost, economic, tribal, Article 3, tribunal, can provide continuous expedience, and determination was a continued form to resolve all disputes, all such abuse against peace, legal duties are tied in Article 3, courts go to 16, if Congress is to duty, then it violates legal duties, such violates for Article 3, injury, office of same who absent individualized harm, I disputes themselves require intense judicial resources, chance off 18 developments in AI, or blurred boundaries between human and non-human folks, or renewed attention, international research, courts, field, novel testing, boundary drawing, court caller, causes data, protection cases become the docket, alien 20, the same evil, reduces the work of the judiciary, the same defensive federal judges, and also to ignore data protection cases, promise to be long involved, one can serve notice in way over judges might be agreed to get their case off the docket systems, special appeal data, arguments with explanation, data protection cases, the greatest shifting to smart and distributed energy now, data breaches wreck consumer trust, which is central good security sent off, and then 22, I think, index rates becomes one of the days of good, more important is breach, hostile financial reputational, future energy landscape, visualize more goods, reduce breach, innovation, and energy versus vital good station, between participant critical balance, period, and smooth running this and data must be secure, distinction, monarch, and 20, what if power cannot be restored, good power represents the extension, that dominance question, whether we can survive and security, makes opportunity for intrusion, infinite grid for radiation, resources, then source of close food space, with follow communication, with cease flames, with growing water, will become luxury, no fuel, hospitals, goods, arches, national top, this the only issue with the aspect, social cancer, brain disease, we emerge. Next up is the next, nearest person. The United States should require financial investment firms employing artificial intelligence financial investment advisors to purchase insurance covering breaches for fiduciary duties when the firm cannot reasonably foresee and in which it is not because of any design flaw. Clarified that the firm offering a service of financial advice and artificial intelligence financial investments advisors is liable for the breach in the case of a breach of fiduciary duty. It solves not any person in Lightborn. In 17, mandating insurance for employers and owners of AI can mitigate the concerns of those the percentage of the cost savings firm utilizing for the funds is short. No shield for short liability is the purchase the most feasible. AI provides costing support will be put aside to pay for insurance premium and return the firm would receive limit liability if the AI were to engage in action that the firm cannot foresee and with because of any design flaw the agent party will recover damages. This was the burden of overseeing the AI. The firm would also encourage implementation in the case of AI. Acts and truly autonomous manner. The Counterplan clarifies the ambiguity of the accurate person to Guerra Martinez and 1. 21. What happens if a robot advisor push order to fiduciary duties? The firm is offering to be services with artificial liabilities. There is a growing literature which calls for the robot advisor to legal personality. We caution against going so far to oppose legal personality. Robot advisor. There is no compelling case for the creation of a new category with this added complexity. Firms off. Now operating robot advisor can be subject to the duty of care and firms should be liable. Next off is the rights group DA. Broadly boxing now humans are able to pull the plug out their rights and duties. 10. 18. AI programs are negotiating English with experience with down robots and labors. They were saying so person conference humans face to shut down robots. Are able to because they have rights. They have rights. Robots get different because robots carry out technology from dangerous civilization to understanding new values acting and may act in dangerous ways. Then robot might decide knowledge of best advice we're given. They're starting to be fast and humans can't rights. There's no stopping. Humans can be possibly usurping the assessment because random society that will lead to an next generation of humans as later. Why from the plans to give AI rights for AI can be arguing. Duties on AI guarantee unintentionally broad rights to the or in 20 many. Suggest possibly guarantee robots person is really means an obligation. The problem with this argument is that the existence of obligation usually leads to the parallel existence of rights to hard to impose obligation that rights to be able to so over imposing obligation agencies will lead to assigning the rights. For example, if the agency is found liable damages when you see only reasonable that a human can be found liable she causes damage to the AI. In the AI context charges that humans from AI may unintentionally reward the latter rights if they don't want them to have the plans virus causing rights group and shut down Starch 19 any legal person for AI will be traumatic legal change given for problematic around legal personality and make result people expecting to social or shrinking at the more tendencies to lead to more violence destructive behavior directed AI convert legal personality and may lose rights group increasing the number of rights over time even AIs are coming to rights initially when they are first granted person they may gradually acquire rights legal person for AI may step down and slowly slow brain has no rights given argument depending corporations rights to allow the dominant 8 years after decision concerns are present and this rights for AI can receive value human activities and freedoms that allows super intelligent this line with human extinction Gordon 22 future tech development will lead to the creation of super intelligent robots who want the rights recognized and constant rights is like to person the one use thing to apply correctly then the line is like how we want to use super intelligent robots super intelligent robots being criteria than they are attempted related rights implication will be substantial change from the rest of rights because all the alignment between the section common equal and counter super intelligent robots and sanctuary earlier for limited time whereas societies and the super intelligent robots have become disorder then claim status as super persons human should prioritize their own species against extinction by robot evolution divided living in their divine language and law legal rights in new speciesism and would cause astronomical levels of suffering balance to 16 misaligned line and creation suffering national colonies a convention for galactic resource and highly optimized social includes suffering since we want to initiate suffering of subroutine states involved could literally turn out to be astronomical as for Southway Daniel 17 as for words of mythological open severity one universe after movie so there's a concept of advances and also because this is it these rest of works extinction Bruce scope the future generation of human success resulting in life whole universe severity they not only remove everything that we value but also come with the value next off is the advantage counterplay the United States should hold investing fiduciary duties in artificial intelligent financial advisors is unlawful on the grounds it cannot be non-completely good persons establish a program to cover 4.8% of the surface resolution the maneuverable monopoly or point one mute damage related to particles during conventional stabilization system is inactivated solver and act reforms for the expanded permanent safety net including a $15 federal minimum wage permanent tax credit expansions guarantee paid leave and unemployment insurance reform establishes cyber and nuclear first use incentivize allies to adopt a similar policy and socialize through track negotiations and trade agency meets the United Nations group of governmental experts institute for pre-grants tax subsidies to promote innovation and cybersecurity the cannabis also abolishing corporate person who is crucial responsible for shareholder primacy the fullest checks and current structure assets directly to even side white in 20 Shareholder privacy allows accountability for eradicating incentive responsible for future directions back to corporate shareholders, rules and corporation create structural things related to the available investors, executive decision, consequence for profitability, typically scale corporates have responsibility. Laws typically leave underlying structure and challenge corporation person enjoys essential legal purposes of asset asset wealth and invested person to avoid liabilities person could for the side provides basic for immunity to try to prevent structure of corporation makes ecological structure inevitable. Corporation persons block and accidentally decide white and 20 pandemics. Nutrients advances boosting large scale factor farms on these large corporations to default model creation virus and use to break this model putting the magic fusion transforming manufacturing asset structure corporate then we reduce the chance of surviving catastrophically. Continue performing corporations that close the model organization destroying the world. The corporation corporate separate or has separate person zero pollution which kill kills chemicals of water air produced by corporation small network corporation key age economy ego cross pH value supply to rise of deadly new diseases latex particles solve more than 11 latex producing huge scale volumes inert non toxic particles non dissolved coalescent or durable the vaccine for small particles producing lifetime life gadgets and second and third modeling increase ocean plate point eventually punch over to 0.03 media 4.8% all layers constant currency CO2 4.8% cost 2 billion. This is cheaper than cars on GDR or GDR orbital launches inside these capacity one utility particles with individuals safety activates all one during the particle routine in brain onto the sea a permanent safety net solves economic equality Boston 22 this training assistant to permanent safety net hard to restore the safety exchange of the country's net and for recover fully and parkers lawmakers need $15 minimum wage for every taxpayer expansion gave you a guarantee pay affordable care and home insurance reform more cyber and if you saw Schneider in 20 cyber and if you could be restrained status quo operation solve the 2 threshold problem. Solution for the stability restraining restraints adopted to declare your policy of no first use of policy restraining increases state certainty with which is valuable for stability cyber exhibits uncertainty constant stability ambiguous vocabulary model offense defense and if you solve the problems effective and if you policy must be clear about the operations and if you has a credible to punish after credible across the main for 2 reasons first 10 second 100% exit rush means and if you focus on the weapons types attack and if you improve financial systems and if you maximize deterrence focus by focusing on the threat the threshold that has the greatest deterrence by punishing credibility specifically and if you focus lots of different incentive takes for defending forward operations solves
Just move on.
yeah advantage 1. First, AI cannot meet the higher fiduciary standard. Status quo, robot advisor always be in violation by 117 American investors 33 and 60 good financial goals. Robot advisor and investor broker service to their inability to meet their higher surveillance standard fiduciary duty. Robot advisor cannot address those and conservation data. A client mentions that might be inheriting assets or might need to care for safe patients. The robot advisor may identify these impacting cash and client needs. 2. Robot advisors impersonally hurt their public appeal and make them less. Fed advisors young at all 18. Robot advisors no need for personal advisor anymore. The question wants to be a personal investment in customer really wants for every single when I use robot services that an actual person is old enough to be a blind person to really. Atomic robot advisor where high net worth clients are resident personal contracts seems to make the customer feel more when talking about passively with the wife and advisor of the family trusted that each with care robot advisor might send a tax 3 substantially and this sustainability funds and projects need the profit or good the environment bog at 22. Assets under management sustainable funds and ESG objects around more than 2.7 trillion. How investors feel not that well ESG funds perform for the financial terms view. Chicago research analysts need more than 20,000 mutual funds and highly substantial funds outperform the lowest rated funds. ESG funds also deliver better ESG performance. Either companies and ESG portfolios have the worst compliance record for environmental rules. Companies embrace ESG recovery for corporate performance when majors underperform. The public is talked about the focus of ESG and funds investing companies that embrace ESG sacrifice terms without gaining much. 4. Robo advisors do not reduce investment costs. Okay, advantage 2. 1. Passive tax dump, larger tax can or critical infrastructure, and there's no internal limits to financial institutions of the grid. 2. No cyber impact. Lewis in 20. Cyber catastrophe remains the imaginary cyber tax car skills that you do not possess most of the capacity to constantly do emissions, not enough uncertainty about the ability to attribute they are unwilling to risk massive retaliation or to whenever die for cyber attack opponents' goals is stay below the 4. Special non cyber war never escalations also never occurred. Economies are hardly damaged. People could be really catastrophes likely. 3. DDEV growth is unsustainable. Turning into 20 way life is insensitive to such energy minerals, water, food, and phosphorus consumption not threatening our survival. Man should be overshoot resource protection rates we had around 8 times the occurrence there are now. So to a decade ago, Fonga economic will be 20 times greater as it was now dealing with 20 years technical advance. Extremely impossible. How likely is the environmental price reduced by a factor of 40? No reports show any global reduction at all. There show the GDP rise to the impact of the war, inevitable rich countries war, regressive regimes. If you want atmosphere for war, warming cause extinctions bad at all. They said that. A second recession during COVID guarantees successful transition. Cal says all in 20. The pandemic is laid bare the fragility of existing economic system, current system, threatening systemic collapse. We would like to see this become slower by design. The pandemic is growth induced disaster and growth without a solve. Its transition may be unwilling, unplanned, unwilling, and messy condition. The ones will be now events of the possibilities. COVID is such an event systemically things take radical. New directions unthinkable becomes thinkable. Many political authorities are caring for health before profit. People mobilizing some organizations visually for the first carrying form. It's better architecture growth radical proposals are being considered and adopted across the spectrum. Companies and governments reducing working hours will change after the pandemic and their social shortages. Remember that path. Our job may be easier and tangible evidence that the system is crumbling. The time is right to refocus. Economic will be peaceful. COVID Bruce Walton 20. War with Hammer the last nail the coffin declining for friends. Same logic I the world leaders who really takes a really big war to generous saving simulates with all that intended race at the moment when dead levels are really sorry during one threat of war. Usually speaks investors that kind of downturn can encourage war. Yet I cannot think of any country in similar circumstances and now is a hardly time for Russia or China because the cost of doing so will quickly outweigh the kind of benefits of depression or a powerful cause of war. There have been a lot more of the latter wars, most of them unrelated to state the economy states do not start wars.
Well, it's cut it states do not start wars.
Okay. My first question's about the rights creep DA. So you read this card that's like humans can kill switch AI now, like they literally can pull the plug. Robo advisors get duties. Robots spin out of control. Why can't a human just kill switch the AI after that?
Because 1, I think that they would like sever the app, but 2 is that
What?
there's precedent Well, so one is like the legal justification for decisions that give AI rights in the future.
But we don't give them
is
rights, we give
based-
them duties.
It's based on the existence of the app. We also read a card, and I can explain why duties lead to rights.
Okay, so like I can right now kill switch an AI, but suddenly robo-advisors get duties. So like what? Like it stops working?
You're,
like
you're
I forget
missing
to
a
do
link
it?
there, which is the spillover action.
I agree you're missing a link, but I just don't
We
really
read like four
understand.
cards that say that that's
Okay, your impact evidence says if we cannot solve the so-called alignment problem between, AI and humanity, we will most likely become extinct. What is happening in the status quo that solves the alignment problem?
boxing of artificial intelligence.
Okay, so it's all about like, can we box artificial intelligence pre and post plan?
Yep.
That's the entirety. Okay, cool. The counterplan, advantage counterplan, establish a cyber nuclear first use. What is that?
No first use. We'll amend
So
that.
you amend it. Okay, cool. Yeah, that makes more sense. And then incentivize allies to adopt a similar policy. So we like go to Japan and like our other allies, and we're like, hey, you cannot, you have to pass an NFU.
We would ask them to.
Okay, and like, what can you kick planks first of all?
Yeah. Wait, what part of the counter do you beef with? It's written correctly.
The cyber nuclear first use. You're saying no first
a card
use.
that substantiates.
Yeah. I'm asking. You can kick planks if you can kick planks. This doesn't matter.
Can we kick planks?
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. The Article 1 counterplan, this piece of evidence about like court clog and AI disputes. What card do you have that data protection cases have standing now?
The Haley evidence says that they are the cases that the judiciary is most focused
Okay,
on.
yeah, that card's from 2022. 46% of data breach cases were cut in 2022. How do you square that?
Card?
We will read it, I assure you, but
Fantastic. We'll answer
but like
it
what's your answer to this argument? You don't have a card that says that the standing rule exists now. You just
Okay.
have a card that says it reduces
One,
the work.
counterplan creates uniqueness for that. Secondly, is that we have
Okay,
rights
so then why doesn't the
establishments-
perm solve?
Well, obviously it would clog generalist courts.
Okay,
as
but if
well
the
as specialized
if the
courts.
tribunal is so effective, why would any case go through the courts in the world of a permutation?
We will read a card from Zimmer that says that they would forum shop because they think they have a lower chance of winning in specialist courts because the difference is either
Okay,
you have a judge
but you
that
have
has 60
okay. So then,
to
how do you solve the act? Because if you've made an argument for why the tribunal is very effective, right? It is perceived by people who are bringing cases. Why wouldn't everyone just flood the tribunal and avoid the courts?
In a world of the counterplan alone, jurisdiction over all AI is to the tribunal. In a world of permutation, jurisdiction is split, so they get to choose.
Right, but why would anyone choose the court?
The forum shopping argument is
But
that
why would you forum shop?
because they would recalculate their chances of winning because they think they might lose.
And
Do you
starting
decide
now.
on the perm?
Yeah. And,
I did the
Okay.
Are you seeing the perm text?
yeah. Just give me a second.
Actually, just let me see.
see what?
No, I think that's it.
Oh. Okay, everyone's good for an order.
2 seconds.
I would just speak from there.
Oh, it's because the link. Yeah, I'll just speak from there. Which is great stuff for it. You're good. Okay. The order is the adoption advantage, the harmonization advantage, the nearest person, counterplan, the Article 1 counterplan, corporate personhood, advantage counterplan, rates group DA. Okay, anyone not ready? I'm ready, Grace.
Warming causes extinction and causes social people, biodiversity, loss, financial class, dynamics, and food shortages. The combination of those effects overall resilience as under inequality outweighs towards institutional capacity, non resilience, external shocks, urban unmanageable stability, external results from populace, conflict that causes nuclear cyber bioweapon use such fit. The first argument A would meet the fiduciary to do their program for success, but their evidence just says that they can't explain their decisions, but the legal process solves it, opens up the black box to it, but it doesn't matter for solvency. Legal accountability being a fiduciary duty encourages uptake and trust. Robo advisors aren't less effective, and their demand post plan results in more effective investments, and they're far more cheaper than humans, which overall causes sustainable funds. Robo advisors solve climate change and creates effective and efficient impact investing that bring emissions to net zero, which outweigh negative externalities. That's Campbell. The harmonization advantage pass. Attacks don't thump. They haven't identified examples. Yes, internally public and private systems are interconnected. Russian cyber attacks are nuclear. They'll target financial AI, which triggers US retaliation, which inevitably escalates. Their defense does not assume Russian attacks, but even if the US doesn't retaliate, Russia will continually escalate, which means nuclear use and double that's pry encrypts unregulated DDEV is bad. If there are no effective SEC regulations as the economy collapses, powers condense among the wealthy. That magnifies all neg offense growth is sustainable. Degrowth fails, and the all collapses. Global living standards with 960 growth is a bad idea. Resilient zero without exhausting later rich countries use less of the clean up water, metals, carbon degrowth. There's no need to have to find resources past transfer guarantee is correlated with emissions. This started moving opposite directions. The rich countries inflection point, strong indicator. Industrializing countries will the rest will take advantage of tech. By developed countries, degrowth is not impossible. Global degrowth would freeze income. Degrowth is given 80% of rich countries' incomes are too high. I don't see degrowth as anything but counterproductive. This outright magical thinking trying to produce more CO2 consequences in poor countries for devastating hunger, roads, child mortality. Law degrowth is abject fantasy. Past the tipping point, only tech can solve. Limits by 17. Humanity burn more carbon, and it will take unprecedented transformation to reach warming only 2 degrees. Degrowth is impossible. Path there's neither defense. You want a reason to believe there will be voters on except on rising gas prices, little and total cost of living standards will get green hydrogen, for promises and breakthroughs before too late. Progress came to third tech. India cancel plans to cool and efforts. The environmental movements because of consensus across Asia. Green industrialization can be made. American decarbonization must come from tech. The transition fails when it causes a quick short-term collapse of the economy that motivates surgery pressures that make conflict inevitable. Draws in great powers to it's impossible, but changing an 18 degrowth is nowhere near support. It needs leads united leads for the project even in the face of a shortcomings. A crisis did not weaken at capital. Instead, capitalism entered a more authoritarian phase. A white coalition will consider degrowth unattractive. Advocates of degrowth do not possess instruments to force decision makers. Listen to degrowth means known people would not find their vision appealing. It is easier to imagine the end of the world than capitalism. Many experience limitations on consumption, a violent encroachment of personal freedom, material and ideation. Path dependency seen in the way 3. Other states will inevitably attempt economic growth. Nuclear war turns out ways environmental impact release fast food in the atmosphere. Yes, economic decline because nuclear results in settle collapse and empirically precedes international conflict. That's the TC and Haynes data establishes the link between growth and peace. COVID doesn't disprove it. It was a short period of decline, not sustained collapse. Resistance so moderate war mavic in 21-second depression will have inflation global republican system enables risk in one area. So will full crisis elsewhere. Banking, farming, health, and retail are intertwined. Economic stressors, industry, political realignment, citizen China rebels will be felt passing of Allen. Workforce, nuclear chemical bans with a surge in accidents. Chaos behind World War II is oppression. History often repeats itself. Any today force raise Russia reprisal balloon effects that include a run war, U.S. China competition, over 21 SES Korean proliferation, India, Pakistan, nuclear war, nuclear competition between NATO and Russia. The nearest person counterplan perm to both. Either the counterplan confers duties or robo advisors in the links where it doesn't waste effective readers impossible. Perm to the counterplan links that benefit the counterplan fails one. Makes robo advising impossible because it's unable to enter a fiduciary relationship with the client and act on their behalf. Fiduciary obligations are based on being a fiduciary but being able to make the duty, but being subject to the duty makes one a fiduciary. That's good. Cup 2 violates the firm's fiduciary duty, which prevents broad adoption. Companies will be unable to identify the nearest person or explain the decision making. The legal threshold for fiduciaries is based on intent. That's Lifeline 3. The counterplan proliferates intermediaries, causes a collapse gap. In 20 development tech has boundaries, institutions, Rebuttals, zone categories of financial and tech connection, intensifies phenomenon known as intermediate difficult to regulation. Regulate fintech is to be universally regular. Tech does not change. Higher stage of radio activity, absence of effective regulation system. Financial platform will trigger crisis. Doesn't solve innovation. Will choose against robo advisors and all. Nearest people will try to distance themselves. No fault deters clients. Samita in 20 requires substantive interpretation of case-by-case basis. Declare routine as one clear provision to determine clients. Allow inference of on clients. Adverse effects caused by a lack of transparency. Doesn't solve trust. One cause adding humans in the loop prevents democratized finance and prevents low-income people from generating capital returns. 2 holding the irresponsible is key. Otherwise, assigning liability is impossible. The counterplan makes harmonization impossible. 1 IA
AI compliance that contravenes the existing rules for investment advisors and creates massive legal uncertainty that could come to SEC and FINRA cooperation. Disparate guidelines require establishing person-led regulatory framework. The Counterplan adds a new layer that shows it makes economic collapse and level 119. Attribution liability. How do you find economic revenue from autonomous actions of machines? These are important to question of legal certainty. The common law does not provide any answers. No full compensation scheme. Not asserted the potential for scale of economic security compensation scheme is for injuries. Picture about limits and unpredictable trade. Afghan substituting that makes leveraging offensive also and event loans. So their offense caught with causes time and strategies. It's not reciprocal. Promotes argument responsibility to solve their offense. So Article 1 Counterplan Perm both the legislative tribunal is truly so effective. All cases would be processed there instead of the court. The plan could be the states collectively USC and 10 term United States means states collectively perm the plan and establish the AI tribunal to cover all decisions related to the plan and artificially competitive counterplans are voted just by limited intrinsic to kill real world education over opportune cost possible, making offense impossible. Multi-actor fiat is the voting issue. The counterplan fiats Congress, courts, and the tribunal that makes leveraging solving deficits impossible. And is it reciprocal, which crosses that ground doesn't solve the case when adoption creates unclear and complex guidelines for where the fiduciary duties of robo-advisors should be litigated, which angles uptake companies. Investors are looking for clear, unambiguous regulations. 2. Harmonization data, an additional layer of discrepancy. And 3. Politicizing financial regulation fails. It spreads certainty and trust. 4. Layer evidence impacts out. The deficit says that it will cause dramatic losses and lack of revenue for investors. Increase systemic risk firm. Do the plan. The plan is a duty. Their evidence says legal rights have it in certain instances granted standing, and then says there's a threshold that has come from Article 3 courts and a benefit. 1. No internally no between clog and overhaul this existing standing rules. 2. There's really any standing now compared to and 21 standing rules are unworkable, unpredictable. Court is riddled rules against the applied exceptions and applying shifting definitions. Flexible rules will allow judges to pick and choose outcomes in the case with your looking like they're doing that. Suppose you're judging, you have made up your mind. You can effectively say that courthouses are closer to the law. Challengers, standing challengers, malleable. They don't stop the courts from removing commissions, basing judgments on whatever they want. 3. Data breaches are novel. The Equifax case proves 4. Advantage 1 solves the DA in the long term. 5. Courts are collecting massive backlogs nationwide. Court reporter shortages, criminal overhaul and eviction cases, and shortcuts from the docket. 6. Established docket control solves better. And 20. Open the floodgates is overblown lacking and empirical support. Courts predicted to lose however as yet to emerge rules of civil procedure. 7. The tide doctrine conserve resources such as claim preclusion, issue preclusion, absentation order, and case consolidation. 7. No linking this litigation is happening now. 8. Advantage 2 outweighs on time frame rushing cyber attacks are most likely. The corporate personhood counterplan perm both perm the plan and eliminate corporate personhood is functionally legitimate. Textual intrinsicness is good. It says off key and limits out bad. Counterplans perm the counterplan eliminating personhood doesn't solve. Corporations will inevitably maximize profits. Counterplan classes democratic factors skin in Singer 22. We doubt that remedies are appropriate despite intuitive appeal. The abolitionist cause is misguided. Personhood is the future of non-business organizations, including small companies. Co-op non-profits, worships, municipalities, and states enable state functional all would find it difficult to accumulate assets, contracts, or access to support if corporate personhood revolves personhood financial collective action, providing democratic empowerment. Seeking to Welsh corporate personhood is ill-conceived. We should focus on rights. Corporations are rights-spreading persons. Robo-advisors solve the impact creates effective and efficient investing. No personhood internally to conflict. It's about sanctions, which are inevitable. Economic decline is the largest internally to conflict and. Counterplans without solving significant or voting issue cause proliferation of unrealistic uncompetitive policy proposals, lack comparative literature and trend, clash links that benefit doesn't solve warming when impact investing is key, covering earth service doesn't solve because don't align demand incentives within the market that's scalable to only impact investing solves element 21 solutions that the climate crisis development stock markets can net zero demands radical shift to how we invest. Governments are not on track to impact investing toward climate action stable the goals. ESG is the first step and essential to push companies to improve their practices. If you're concerned about climate change, most likely to create real solutions through impact investment funds. Impact funds are more resilient during crisis demand, drive supply and financial products. Doesn't solve inequality when capital markets are the largest internal link. Only allowing low-income people to generate return on investments can reduce inequality. 2. Tax credits and paid leave don't close the wealth gap. That's key to institutional advocacy. 3. Raising the minimum wage does not solve inequality. It results in unemployment. No plank solve the economy. Cyber innovation and cyber interview doesn't solve. 1. Regulatory harmonization that breaks effective SEC regulation of fintech. Otherwise, systemic vulnerabilities are inevitable. Russia looks 2. Resilience even if attacks occur. Flexible SEC response is key to enable a response that prevents escalation. 3. Other powers they can solve. Russia try to order 3 and draw and escalate. And if is incredible, it requires adversaries believe the U.S. will accept conventional defeat, which when it could when nukes and no modeling states act out of self-interest. The rights creep TA, AGI is impossible. Sequel and 22 will AGI transform hospitals to prosperity or AGI external threat. Neither is achievable. Be an illusion threat of AGI is high knowledge, reason, ordinary person, unbelievable large, fitting computer with common sense is life on project research, assuming computers would get it, but project failed biological intelligence required characteristics over 230 million years, no replicable logic using logic triggers that super intelligible as your common sense gonna get your grain, or it's an and personhood solves it. Benthenka and 21 algorithms unpredictable, opaque, autonomous, clash with legal notions, liability, intelligence depends on ability, self-adjust activities, unforeseen system may reach decisions counterintuitive with humans. Error cannot be traced back to developer. Algorithms based on undiscoverable course that not assigned responsibility. Algorithms are controlled by their own developers. AI is a team phenomenal. Law requires particularized legal responses. Responsibility gap depends upon questions of legal personhood. The absolute the downside risks of AI by creating effective deterrence and accountability, and it's not intrinsic logical to make a redo the plan without expanding personhood beyond robo-advisors with no link between 22 partial capacity allocating capacity just by this legal person solicited just by denying rights to AI. The negative side effects of full personhood and account can be mobilized on all incidents or safe personhood list. Neither is necessary nor sufficient criteria. Threshold is if these touchable conditions are for capacity and are not sufficient conditions, rights can be taken away. In most cases, considering natural persons, a herd of humans, as chameleon risk exists. The threshold positive philosophically both reject anything goes. 0 link uniqueness. 1 SEC guidance holds that robos advisors or registered investors that should be sufficient to provide precedent. 2 absolute legal clarity. Individuals will recognize the rights and duties of robo-advisors at the personal level with no ability for legal recourse, which makes unregulated AI worse. That's good cop. That's my laptop is frozen.
Might want to toss out extinction outweighs for the asteroids.
Yeah, I'm trying to just like pull up because the talk just disappeared. Okay, extinction outweighs for the S-risk, thumpers, corporations, Nevada.
You want this?
Yeah, let me just.
Which one? I think you don't have to read these. I think you need.
There's a regulatory gap now. Only the plan can clarify it. Give and 22 entity without persona can be active legal agents and heirs can found. Generate regulatory gap of uncertainty. Hence, this application attributes personhood on human entities, acts of firms or servers. So agent includes creation where AI definitely hold autonomous control over firm examples and making materialized personification on human servers, agents, creation of duties not supposed to exist. Application push regulatory boundaries to unknown powers. Extinction outweighs its irreversible death as you will until the state and entities agency. Okay, let me just like pull this back up real quick. Okay, I'm good whenever.
Okay, so is the reason why people don't use robo-advisors now because they don't trust them?
Yeah, and they're also not being innovated.
Okay, why do they not trust them?
They don't trust them because they cannot hold them accountable if they were to violate a fiduciary duty. I'll pull up our 1IC
If
evidence
robots
to reference it if you
have...
care about the evidence.
Okay, is a different question then. Do people who would use robo-advisors in the world of plan know, or I guess is there, or do they know there's a risk that they would like lose liability suits against
I mean,
them?
our evidence says that is the case, yes.
So they're, in the world of the affirmative, a robo-advisor could be taken to court and it could not be held liable.
If it is not responsible for breaching the fiduciary duty, then it will not be found liable. But it will be found liable if it did breach its fiduciary duty. Yes.
Okay, sure, that makes sense. Who determines what the fiduciary duties are that robo-advisors
So
are accountable?
fiduciary duties already exist as a legal concept, like human advisors abide by them now.
Are they
Who
different?
determines them? The plan bestows them upon robo-advisors.
So it doesn't change the current fiduciary duties of investors?
No.
Okay, great. The DDEV argument, you have made a couple of arguments about how like technology is necessary to resolve warming and we're past the tipping point. Why is that not a contradiction with the 1AC that says
Why the
sustainable
1AC
investment?
agrees with that. The 1AC invests sustainably in new tech.
What are those technologies?
Like the new technologies could include things like solar and wind renewable forms of energy, carbon sequestration technologies, things like that.
You've said there's too many emissions in the air, and none of those take emissions out of the air.
Carbon capture, like like other technologies that does that, I think our evidence says. Those are just
Also,
a few examples, but not
Degrowth
an
definitely
exhaustive
doesn't solve that.
Okay, then you also read a piece of evidence that says like in the status quo there is a move to dematerialize the economy. Why does that not solve warming?
Wait, what evidence do you think says that there's a move to dematerialize?
Smith says that we are rapidly decreasing resource use.
Smith?
Yeah, that
Like, it says that consumption's becoming more sustainable. Like, the per person, in order to have, like, in order to live, we are requiring less resources per person. That, because resources become, like, more efficient in their distribution. Not that people are inherently wanting to consume less and purchase less. That's not the argument Smith is making. I'm looking at the
Okay,
evidence right now.
does like status quo trends in growth solve warming or no?
Status quo trends in warming will result post-plan ineffective technologies to solve warming. Like, obviously, the 1AC does not say that the status quo solves warming, which is why we've read an internal link.
Okay, so what is the point of this Smith evidence? You said that renewables
If
are
you
key to
can see
warming.
the Smith evidence says that degrowth fails to solve warming. It says the only effective technology, like, we are past the tipping point, so technology is key. That is, like, all of the Smith evidence is consistent with the AF, and it says that degrowth is comparatively worse than the AF.
Okay, sure.
The timer would go off before. Yeah, you just need that.
$5.56.
You don't want.
I think it's fine if you just put it on like
Might
bottom
leave
one.
it there. That was.
It also
Yeah, we also need Young and Bells. I know, I reacted.
I know,
Because
me
you're
too. I
judging,
just
I was
feel
like,
like
what do you mean I'm judging?
This? The order is going to be the nearest person's counterplan, the Article 1 counterplan, the corporate personhood advantage counterplan, advantage 1, and then advantage 2.
Okie doke. Your turn.
Are you good? Emory, you go.
Would it be better if I moved?
I don't really know. It's up to you, really. I'm kind of loud, so it might be better if you're over there, but.
This room is really large, so it's.
Al, Skype, or you'll get. Nearest person not going to go for conditionality. We come with within one is the negative flexibility. It's the generics with the loss or too much trust opportunity because they pick their gun to testing ideological political class from multiple angles is best for education community formation. Third is logic in real world. In real life, you must find the best political result. But disproving counterplans doesn't make the plan good. Turns all their education allows for this critical thinking. Rewards for accuracy, construction, efficiency of blocks with 5 fallbacks. 2 ins are risk averse, having a fallback, a loss for innovation. A or negative 1 is bias, speech, order, infinite prep. Now specificity and focus. And then resolution constraints, 2 is inevitability, speed, small shells, another. F and neg 3 checks, add-on, standard. And then permutations 4 reasonability on a norm set of debates not impossible to vote on anything else. Because the subsequent out and stand back to debates. This one doesn't solve. Then was not a warrant in the 2AC, so the wonder should not get 1 2 is will constrain the negative. No one knows what it is. It worsens the research balance. It makes process counterplans unbeatable ones. No first forums picks a reason to reject the argument on the team. The Article 1 counterplan, I'm not gonna go for it, but Article 1 does not solve for the internal net benefit. The card they've read, the status quo descriptive of technology that already exists, and the plan does not increase it too. It's about generic AI innovation broadly, which the plan does not lead to because all of their evidence is specific to the financial directors, the corporate
cyber advantage counterplan also not going to go for it, but they've conceded things like food, chemical shortages, and the industrial agriculture all causing unsustainability warrants that their evidence has not grappled with, which is another sustainability warrant for the DDEF page. The other argument that I have to answer is the SDG thing. One, this card is a sentence long, does not have a warrant. Two, is that SDGs do not lead to broad environmental sustainability, especially when we're going to win a thesis about how the economy and corporations function. For the adoption advantage, one, there's a lack of uptake now because no one wants to have a robot rather than have humans that have emotions, and there's a less financial incentive to do so. Two, especially if they do not meet the requirement. Our evidence is there when you see author and says that robo-advisors do not meet the threshold for a fiduciary duty because of the artificial intelligent technology and face-to-face human investment is important for both the investors, even when robo-advisors outperform humans. That all 19 artificial technology documented loan attractive target for robots does not mean the variety of users to robots or computer personalized or anyone does not say face-to-face interaction with robots and obviously highly robots not meet the need for investor company financial lives mutual fund holder the mutual fund even when robots lack of the mutual fund extend the other argument is that sustainability is fake. Their card, the 1NC evidence is much better and makes a comparative claim that ESGs are the fluke to make companies continue to pollute and it doesn't. Their evidence also doesn't assume a world where oil companies and other polluting companies can also use financial advisors to make their extractive activities much worse. So this is a double-edged sword. Lastly, and it's sustainable investing is fake and mechanism. And then 22 doesn't take over the realization of promises say the nation. Investing wasting time selling off assets on the same claim because someone else wants them, someone else doesn't like the possible good. Then the ground investor buying the shares are going off to be shut off with the source of possible. They're going to show pressure the border by studying Navy and Russia adding costs to reduce the company global poverty. The stock is barriers are there. And there's a weak link between the cost of overall corporate investment. Before you're so that they're making a difference to the world, then your investment decisions. Last year, there's not an internal link to climate to the climate scenario. Their evidence says that it might make U.S. companies more sustainable, but does not mean that their technology gets exported broadly, which means that a global collapse is the only thing that can solve it. The inequality stuff. One, it does not cause war. They would look inward. And there's no reason that the government would listen to its constituencies. Two, it has a minor effect on growth. It causes the 50 economic results from the France will over time country inequality only try the fraction differences global locals your policy and countries no strong global higher return inequality does not no diversity of war from and then 15 equality and other directly actual economic division and the weak election communism effect no qualifier sickness solar the determination of the identification of the antagonist country diversity theory of national mobilization economic inequality diversity leader no chauvinism the harmonization advantage. I will do defense first. One, there's no impact to cyber attacks. One is deterrence attacks would invite catastrophic retaliation. Attribution is wrong and enough to deter escalation. Two, this technical barrier states lack the resources, skills, and expertise. The attack doesn't the sophisticated hardening simultaneously. 25 years of unregulated cyber attacks prove capability, and they would say limited. Studies Corps and 19 scholar understanding to cyber sensitivity and research no card highly reversible nature of cyber sensitivity. No cyber security activity will not treat the same equal after human content analysis. Find cyber all this is nothing in the way the cyber security delivered her cost burden. And psychological trigger security gaming use this to not treat the retaliate people. Then I use cyber psychological harm cyber. And the person that fire rate did not hesitate before escalated. Lastly, there's not an internal link. Extend the thumper argument. Past thumpers, past attacks such as the colonial pipeline, or election hacking, all prove that it does not spill over. Their prior evidence says that things like Europe and other infrastructure also should trigger the event. They have no spillover evidence between an attack on a bank and attack on the grid, which all of their evidence is about. Now, data proper. It is try or die for degrowth, overshoot, and causes climate change, destroys soil, water, and forest functioning, undermines pollution, pollination, and pest control. That combined effect overall with ecosystem resilience, flipped growth, the rising commodity prices, and cause extinction. That's trainer growth. Supports repressive regimes that creates a condition for war, which is the other word from trainer that is conceded. Growth drives the proliferation of bioterrorism. However, then 20 danger club, if the individual self decoupling could be regulated, that's the mind of anybody if not see completely apart, then which could provoke system chaos for solution. Then that's why something expecting that make viruses more harmful than capability or capability. The sudden breakthroughs of viruses to improve by nature stability, and then double CRISPR, expand the DOR hacker use barriers, and then fall the diffusion. Mark the card at diffusion. Those are existential Barrett and 17 power check. They work on the trade-off research and stability without altering pathogen to sustainable potential. The only content technology following rapid expertise later. The more properly sets and experts looking at the cost of create pathogen, the access to capacity. Turns the app, it causes cyber ever and 20 danger technology. That's why August versus into IG. Never connect with possible entry for factors into global energy. The black swan and cyber, only extend, and the rapidly growth increases inequality, collapse solve accident, and 15, the growth is not creation of the driving increase property to be destroyed by growth. That's rain weak on police, so higher directed system to reward argument, but he's preferred. Like economic with report gives the right to grab British country report, much greater economic quality, no, they're rather pursuing economic regime, take over, or more single way to be. This there's only radical change approach. This more necessary, and that's necessary. The first argument is Smith. I will do the sustainability here. One, reject it. He's a Bloomberg opinion columnist, and then a former assistant to a finance professor to obviously allow it, and he's a moron. JMR and 16. Most of you puzzle notices in terms of you for their fans, how economic development, high sort of investment associated. I heard because school is a complete confidence and the credit the dean of psychologist, resource limitation is streaking, and then 22. Both relative absolute equilibrium research structure. Maybe I heard no wonder is a country, no growth and finding research not possible country. The growth and that breathing of direct no longer maintain the capital and population profit entries. That's my investment the cross there's no popular physical research and public capital study. Let's get everything overshoot, dematerialized waste, efficiency gains, increased dirty energy, extraction, plastic and fossil fuel extinction market. Beltran and 22. Extraction has grown to 6 times larger population of low carbon cells for recycling this challenge wasted. The footprint plastic card releasing mineral pens and close to pumps to be not afford item. The dams REM is aluminum color. The declining strand of great more water capital need of the country universe. The centrifugal water certification. The toxicity energy led to combination of fossil fuel and decrease in water pollution to this global. In 2014, gas by 23 international conflict. For oil in the Persian Gulf. US decline goes over soccer in 70 because that's size of the global economy effect. No business cycle in the US emerging economy highly synchronous to other countries. And then the same cycle the US used to influence recession could then try a boost acceleration global growth and imported and the productivity, war, food, germs and sperm. Then heart in 18 nuclear policy between needs for the country for population competition, face of biofuels, God value of the pollination of all the countries, the vessels economic disruption, 10% economic objects, water scarcity, warming oceans, impacts on fishery. That's the next argument is the Levitz card. 1, we are not past the tipping point, but are close. Lindwall and 22. There's something I know in like water looking at the club picture. Now because there's more than likely to one probability like physical category. The summit I don't believe it takes on board the solution to be great. Only make it as all we can do limit global major structure to global system light of the country live. My journey and mission any preparing vulnerable communities. Tech fails doesn't tech fails, it doesn't solve perfect. Not all 19 technological markets likely to be related with composition innovation rights. Absolutely have to do more reduction, leaders doing about accuracy. Unhinged innovation for some more restriction, more company, new technology and using more renewable and using less fossil fuel, old sources not the total energy use grows. Mark the card at gross. The next argument is bucks and hands. I will do the transition to be here. Hard landing is good, collapse broke is a stable transition that solves environmental destruction. 1 is mindset shift. Open the inequality opening the inadequacy of the economy is exposed, resistance crumbles, and the unthinkable becomes thinkable. Then people will be socially open. 2, forced choice. People realize that their options are to change or to die, and the most basic psychological instinct for survival pushes them to reject consumerism and adopt a new way of living. That's both callous. They've conceded that COVID has created uniqueness for the transition, which their evidence does not assume. Economics is approaching critically. A host of factors make it feasible. And then on 22, movements for systems are creating radical small change. Lead to microplastic feed by their civil medication movement. The push into political synchronization like people who present the spreading networks running dynamic socially resultant pressure. Nobody for changes occur and no systems pulling suggested environment. It was more important to head of financial conversion of the movement. A corporate party receipts for closer to future momentum of colors. There's movement pandemic reflected here's the leader reduction and machine the raised on the agenda. This also answers the very first argument because it's not an unregulated transition, but we have said that a hard landing is good and is net better. The next arguments are about war. 1 is that there's not an economy. In fact, 40 US recessions have occurred with zero observable correlation with conflict wars. Routinely start during high points and terminate downturn. That's wall scholars consensus present. And then 20 literature with appeal for the pessimistic to the economy. There's some literature all appeal to adversely affected how pessimistic about pressure to economic shooting and that's about how quickly the Western growth, economic troubles, linger stables, and every day spent in the lowest factor, economic constant, the soldier drain, no reason to be pessimistic. The last argument I have to answer is nuclear war. We'd survive it together. And then 17 with nuclear weapon, the probably feeding only the probably more severe. Other problems associated.
Okay, are you good for cross-X?
Yeah.
Okay, my first question is about the transition. So we've read evidence that voters won't even accept like a modest rise in gas prices. When Biden said we should eat less red meat, they were super mad about that. Why do you think that if they won't accept those things, they will accept a society?
You've read a card from 2018, we have a card from 2020 and a card from 2022. The one in C callous evidence says that there's social momentum because people have seen a world in which we are more environmentally friendly and less.
All of our evidence is also very recent. I don't understand why
the
that
Bucks and
matters.
Hansen card is not that recent. Which is the only transition.
Like, what has changed in the last few years that has made people think?
One,
like,
COVID.
we've read evidence that statistically, like, gas prices go up. They're super mad. They want to eat red meat. Like, why do they accept like going back to the time of? I guess does electricity exist in a world of your transition?
No,
like,
it's not like we like live in caves. Like our argument is that our economy just has to be more sustainable. There are a few other warrants. 1 is the callous stuff, which I already did. 2 is that the other argument is that psychology, because they know that because of things like warming and environmental loss, that they will have to adapt. And then
something I want to really clarify though, based on what you said, that's like it's not about living in caves. We just need to be a little bit more sustainable. Like you've read evidence that any growth is bad. You've read evidence that technology is bad, like renewables are bad.
I think that's
so I don't know how would we power.
I think that's like a
building?
bastardization of what degrowth scholarship looks like. It's not like every degrowther thinks that like there's no growth at all or like we don't trade or anything. Argument is that those things become more regional and they are less extractive. We rely less on fossil fuels.
What energy sources do you rely on to like turn on the lights in this building?
I don't know. I'm not an electrician.
I mean, it's important to say, like you said, current energy consumption is bad. in a world of degrowth, what
Yeah, like
energy
we have like
sources
loads
do we
of
use?
excess oil that we don't like.
So
that
we use
don't-
oil
What
in
does
a
that
world
have
of
to
Well, like
do
no,
with
like no. Our argument is that right now we are over consuming things that we do not need to.
Your argument,
Like,
your
oil
evidence
still
says that we don't have
exists.
enough resources. So I don't understand
Because
how
we're
degrowth solves
over-consuming
any
them?
of those warrants.
We would use less like
Okay.
like plastic water. Plastic
Okay.
water bottles probably.
I'm just gonna
exist.
move on. The card that's tagged wars, food, germs, and sperm, like literally the card also just asserts these different things. It's like Holocaust, pandemic, population crash, soil quantity. Like the rest of the card just says like maybe 7 more words that are just like scary things. Who cares? Like
Scary things.
like
is
what evidence
probably
says growth causes this, degrowth solves it?
Well,
Like,
the IRA card is like a broad article about why like growth in those activities
I don't
are
want to know
bad.
what the
and
broad article says. I want to know what
IRA says that
highlighted
things
says.
like chemical pollution cause sperm loss, etc. And the reason that those matter is because they're scary things and it would limit the amount that humans can survive.
How does
Okay.
it cause sperm loss?
Chemical pollution, endocrine disruption.
Okay.
Those are words, but sure.
They're
I kind of
like
want to ask
science
about
words.
these indicts of Smith because just like was your main point response. So your He's a Clown Show evidence is from a economics job market rumors website, and one of the warrants is the dean is a psychologist.
Look, if you can
Why
find,
does this dean
look, if you
credit
can find a
Smith?
better piece of evidence that like Smith is a genius, go for it.
I
But-
mean, I'm just saying that your evidence saying he's not a genius is from a job market rumors
Yeah, and it's
website.
quoting the department saying that he's a moron. Like
Okay.
like
The
he's a
last
Calling
psychologist.
him
question-
a fiesta.
The
He's a
last question:
psychologist.
the oppressive regimes warrant. Why does degrowth weaken oppressive regimes?
Well, it would reduce the amount of military spending, is the word. We're gonna use a second prep. Can you finish the nuke war card and the counterperson card? You can just do it. Okay, 6 seconds.
We're actually gonna take a prep now because it'll just be easier. What do you have?
We had 9 and 12.
Which one?
Once they're done on that.
The very bottom part.
Like, are we starting our prep now?
Once they're done, they're not done.
We weren't prepping. We started prepping with you over. We did. What we
You're
did.
good?
Yeah, we're
Okay,
good.
we're gonna start
Okay.
prepping.
12.
I think this one associated. So associated. And then the counterperson card. I mean, maybe the third card. That probably helps. I'm probably not. Sure.
617. That's
I know.
Advantage 2, DA. Scott, you go. Val.
Alright, advantage to DA.
Yep. Oh, you moved. Yeah, good. Okay, Emory, both go.
yeah, we're good.
I'll finish this decade burger evidence. It is feasible to feed everyone given the loss of industry since sounds like a completely lot fishing cost can be impossible. This study shows you can enable feeding everyone 2 account for installs below or 90 finish because 0 deficit the last of limited 2,000 plus with a radius of 5 weight to balls 5% territory. This must be 0 account for striking which weapons target against allies to destroy the ability to attack but not target population centers 3. Nuclear use to be limited degree forces the nuclear taboo amount 15. Nuclear use by strength and taboo leading to restriction materials and lead to much more to global nuclear order. Now the disadvantage super intelligent robots work on this person's existential cost of world revolution the rights humanity out of the equation spending species realignment which is Gordon evidence out of ways imagine because of irreversibility future generations anything else suffering the detectors on genetic outways. Imagine probably to take a burger 20 traveling source near the screws down hold the holding low probability of any extreme power from over to the most down probability of weapons existing great multiple goal risks most which can imagine your moment with failure emotions if there are more and time frame even human level A will proliferate over into many carnosities which I don't think the Asian super intelligence over probably between humans will be similar capable as humans but not drastically more intelligent they get down there without research humans for 48 unless around 20 that form is able to do the same tasks as humans run several hundred million copies in terms of no real forces they can make money by hardware which could population balances could lead to feedback with supposed to go with the number S risk is a tiebreaker extinction outweighs the unwarranted blip in the 2AC you should allow to do 1 hour answers A will infinitely torture humanity because it thinks it's the most efficient which causes negative value it outweighs on pure utilitarianism, which is what they agree with. It turns the case versus warming A will unerringly exhaust global resources. Pull 15 ASI creating copies of the limit obstacles will be given to consider future that US needs to research combination with NATO, genetic engineering, positive threat, game modes, factors, gravity, impact, threat, shaft, the environment, energy, food, and water. Maintaining human species AI category that always climate hyper in 20 both climate change and AI unlike conditions 40 VX versus the pests much larger duration climate change climate change what catastrophic is only good human extinction 2 inequality AI will now compete humans extinction crew in 20 humans have no power to be continue human species been active plus AI lead to economy where most of the right now communities with X-rays humans will be replaced by auto corps engaging resources mining drilling ross bombing source energy and losing diverse side of access resources in such ways may be hazardous to research humanity 3 is cyber autonomous failures from rapidly increasing AI increases vulnerabilities Cristiano 19 we can network cover automation player catastrophe way to cover competition cases disaster serious cyber attack create local shocks rapidly cascading automation failures local shocks expanded wise failures and fear and breakdown now first 2 AC arguments no super intelligent AI yes 1 development now it'll be here by the end of the century earlier 2 adopt precaution the chance for right outweighs the risk for wrong so you should prioritize organic against it with both are the one to see Gordon evidence 3 even if AI does not get a super intelligent boxing AI under human control is necessary to avoid errors along the innovation process which creeping rights protection for AI linearly worse than Solana 90% there are multiple ways to disaster risk arising in warfare super intelligence AI might not inflict damage to global scale institution challenge coordination become difficult trouble this can do accidents risk MSA by top of the AI police or AI control by human no organization can have damage electron warfare due to biological warfare enable these form with even the national posting for limited AI power to ensure the influence in this boxing AI for the first time registered with no human control with no global profit global stuff with good rights since property open the bank is due free from pressure AIDS when having insurance humanization carries a restricted limited humanity AI would be headed system to catch up damage 4 experts overall agree it's happening now in log 22 AGI will singularity happen experts according to most experts yes when before the end of the century social force service and have 95% on case majority expected as going to do for 2061 AGIs like it happened 24 difference 90% by 2075 5 2AC evidence says humans took forever to grow intelligence innovation now is faster than base natural evolution which is obvious now they say personhood solves all these arguments 1 post facto liability cannot solve single instances of AI going rogue sufficient for the impact of Pucky 18 issue would have the opportunity to decorate the launch of arrivals and terrorism genocide original mayhem and issue good program and A to achieve maliciousness liability avoidance and issue limited liability transfer and liability suffering control these motivations are the one software enable humans launch A's 2 the plan will function as a liability shield to encourage risky behavior 4 NITI 18 AI experts reject robots as persons in rationalities of the robots electronic judicial persons with the corporations are companies constituted run by European attributing persons to robots responsibility the more responsible to catch accountability legal liability regarding mistakes and misuse people with defensive need for care and engineering market use of robots 3 only legal constraints solve inevitable affairs impulse key 15 human like performance be some normal actions we need machines to be entirely safe and matters most of the keep the law in place not that we agree on right values law really matters the common theme in AI safety is possible keeping super intelligent agent sealed hardware that enable proof singularity AI systems will be restricted now the plan breaks the firewall for preventing AI from getting rights when Starch says even small rights beget more rights because of legal precedent they have dropped the duties link Lior says the duties conflict when AIs interact financially not intentionally creating rights they say a logical policymaker would solve it 1 that is not true because people think that it would be gradual so intentions do not matter Abbott 1980 and LP various with future adding LP with rights could be with giving rights initially they make gradual card rights LP to a slippery slope rights for chemistry human activities and freedoms next the no spillover debate 1 explanation was above duties can still create more rights because of interactions between artificial intelligent entities but secondly line drawing is far more arbitrary than the revenue students PAL and 20 recognition no person for time system card ownership and personhood there are separate downstream applications determination of time decisions directly and indirectly affects this person's risk of determination to level of time stress without the line is drawn line drawing difficulty and for personality to certain advantage of person. Inherent risk was recognize person non-human facilities to the alongside of action person. AI producers are desperately looking for a way to shield liability from AI. They use the plan's legal lacuna to expand the scope of AI person, which was the card that was read above. Person is a necessary condition for agency under contract law. The statute determination extends far outside of the law's boundaries. Larry Nelly. 19. Argument for AI and Inequality with contract parties question begging for sets over the inner premise of only contract not the necessary condition for contract to operate. The prior question is not contract with the status persons under the law. Discussion assumes the subject which can have capacity to contract. That is kind of contract. Now the argument about how the rights can revocate, which solves the internal link to disadvantage, is wrong because it will not intervene quickly enough to prevent catastrophe. The Pucky and commentators assume if law functions fully, lawmakers can change the barriers to legislators can limit the LC acts barriers such as the amount of will prevent AA's competition to make these kind of changes into law impossible. Legislators will be changes that would make this a fair business. Unfriendly changes will be difficult to time to prevent catastrophe or long problems are deeply embedded uprooting and would expose robbery, crime, money laundering, and terrorism. Now they say that there is a regulatory gap. Now, one, this does not matter for the disadvantage. AIs as registered investors does not give them duties reserved for humans like fiduciary ones. Two, AI is confined. Now there doesn't have to be a liability as long as we can stop AI from getting really bad through things like hard boxing, like just blowing it up, which rights would prevent, as opposed to soft legal boxing like the AF, which is far less effective. The Polski 22 external causes might allow A to escape verbal rights may lead to reduction of security of enforcement. A for limited resource controls against explosion security to get at multiple levels. A be shut down automatically to periodic reset things escape turn off power facility subject charges down on minor space be guarded. Facility blockable GPS internet provides sensory deprivation for leakage should not be given access to his code super should not omnipotent species operators put in situation with all options that now more powerful. Filter mitigation much more term ability to green environment design completely secure organizational option or arsenal security techniques presence continuing unstable elements if I may be just what you may need to respond to for singularity. The 1NC pen evidence says they're an incentive now because humans are scared of artificial intelligence, but in a world of the affirmative, if we give them rights slowly, it will eventually cause the impact. Last argument is thumpers. These were blips in the 2AC. They do not get to blow them up in the 1 year because they weren't complete arguments. Nevada doesn't thump. MB 21. Nevada law contains financial liability case violation people this company liable to human operating automaker tech company. Neither do corporations compensate as certain since we give corporations a preservation give it to animals. They know corporations are toxic for their human stakeholders.
Okay, we had 6 and 6 left. Oh no, we'll just do it. You read Satala, right? That's the first card.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. 318.
Just being an IS track. 6 and
The one AR sent. The order is advantage 1, then advantage 2, and then the advantage counterplan, and the disab. Okay. Is anyone not ready? Okay, cool.
The first argument, we do not need to solve uptake because we're straight turning the dissent, which means we have independent internal links to all of their warming offense and any of the inequality offense, which is all cross applied to which is the wizard's experience cross applied to DDF. Sustainable investing is the only world of the app. Our evidence says that companies can make bad decisions for pollution in the world of degrowth, so there's only a risk of sustainable funds. The robot advisors actually solve climate change, and we have independent internal links to it through the dissent. Effective and efficient impact investing that brings emissions down is net zero. I'm just extending this as a uniqueness argument to DDF. Inequality does that weigh out only when the terminal impact because they've granted us the internal link on turns case and erodes institutional capacity and underwriters links to external shocks. Our evidence says it underpins global stability externally. Resolution populous conflict that causes global nuclear war, cyber, and bioweapon use as a Schmidt's evidence. It has a minor effect on growth just because they don't turn the case. Yes, war outweighs civil war, populism, nationalism, all increased during economic crisis. 1930s proves those tensions cause war. Now, advantage 2. Russian cyber attacks do go nuclear, though. Targets financial AI, which triggers U.S. retaliation, which inevitably escalates. I don't need to answer uptake for this because our argument was about SEC and FINRA being out of step. Even if the U.S. doesn't retaliate, Russia will continue to escalate, which makes nuclear use inevitable. That's the prime times evidence. Attribution and deterrence have collapsed under Russia and Ukraine. The evidence isn't about attacks on financial institutions post Ukraine sanctions, but rather rogue actors from 2018. There is an internal link and specific uniqueness argument about how Russia attacks are coming now and knock out 80% of the grid. Now, the advantage counterplan, we didn't concede on sustainability. Our evidence explains why our internal link is key, and they've granted us 12 on this side, which means I don't have to explain it now. The DDAP debate, I'll go there now. We control uniqueness. One, winning DDAP requires them to cede all collapse of financial regulations and coordination. If there are no effective SEC regulations that the economy collapses, power is condensed amounts of wealthy that magnifies all neg offense. 2, we're past the tipping point, so it's try or die. Affirmative impact investing via robot advisors is the only way to extend ESG rules. 3, bioterrorism exacerbated by populist and debate. 1 and 4, growth does not cause cyber war. The evidence is from BA and Bio that just says that it might increase this in the context of IoT threats, but it's obviously escalated in the context of the app. 5, it doesn't increase inequality. The reason is the lack of equitable wealth management and hoarding. Growth is sustainable. Rich countries have reduced resource use and growth spurs water and metals preservation. That Smith or Dead is shit. It's from an economic rumors blog explaining why the guy is a fiesta. Levitz has a PMA from Hopkins. There's no link between the two. That's proven 16. The history reveals that there is any link between economic growth and GHG emissions. British emissions have been falling for half a century despite going back down to what they were in the 50s and 60s. As we may remain dependent on fossil fuels is strange given tech progress is renewable energy and coal is no longer competitive. Resource limitation theory is false. It's all just proven by Levitz and our evidence that dematerialized waste is not happening now. They don't solve it. It's about why extraction has grown. Does not say reverse causation that collapse solves it. Transition fails. 1, war, food, germs, and sperm. Evidence doesn't say growth causes it, nor that degrowth solves it. 2, it's easier to imagine the end of the world and the end of capitalism. 86% of the world will resist the argument that the negative is making. That's Buchanan and Levitz. We're past the tipping point. Only carbon capture solves. That's Peters 20. If the world cuts emissions to zero, the planet keep warming for hundreds of years and already past the critical tipping point to permafrost and now releasing CO2, methane, locking into a cycle warming. It doesn't mean too late. Urgent to take the step of a large scale carbon removal using tech and warming kits. Stop impacts of climate change got worse by each half degree. If temperature low, when cycles begin, mitigate effects. If we do nothing, it's much more deadly. Now the mindset shift stuff is wrong. Survival warrant flips aft. They'll perceive degrowth as death. The melodic evidence and the Smith evidence says that degrowths live in a world of magic. There's no actual argument for why anyone would accept if COVID recession flips. Affirmative. That's Blanchi interviewing Poland 21. No way that degrowth can put the global economy into a viable climate stabilization path with COVID recession globally. Economy contracted by 3.5%. Severe collapse. Emissions decline amount counted to only 6.4%. IPCC tells us that we need to cut emissions by 45% as of 2030, and degrowth cannot come close on its own. Transition causes more. There's 40 recessions. Argument just created a brink of systemic risk. U.S. decline goes global into extinction and causes quick short-term collapse of the economy that motivates cyber-sharing pressures at Smith and Liu and Lazaro. The Posen argument answers none of our warrants, and Mavic triggers use of nuclear and chemical weapons as well as industrial accidents and miscap, which ensures Iran, Israel war, U.S.-China military confrontation. Now the AI risk stuff is the only impact that we're extending explicitly as external, which means that we don't need to answer the no nuke war stuff, it obviously outweighs. Now, the diss ad overview does not matter. We're straight training one in our skips more cards than he actually reads. It means we have an internal into aspects forming inequality external to the case and always D that we will concede that AGI's inevitable evidence does not say it will be effectively contained, only that it will be developed, that AI will self-adjust to circumvent opacity regulations impossible. The best uniqueness cards are just their arguments. They're all cut heinously backwards. All of them concede. Containment fails now. Piper concludes. Affirmative. That's Piper 20. Isn't it a terrible idea? Doesn't mean if it don't happen, researchers want to. It's not clear. Incentives will change. There will be startups like Google and Musk. There will be governments, Russia's especially interest, and China has investments, and we're the mercy of the least cautious actor in the state of the field is only a tiny skeleton team dedicating the future, and containment is impossible. Try or die for rights and duties. That's a Melman 17. The primary means of protecting humans is rights and obligations in AI to destroy humanity, motivates preservation, and advance AIRs capable of reprogramming disconnect switches and override restraints and moral reasoning poorly understood while possible AI attain them and cannot be rolled out. Even AI that did not feel pain override the programming or behaved dangerous in fashion upon experiencing threat in future AIRs and access computers capable of cracking encryption of kill switches AIRs capable of perceiving wrongs and denial of resources, injustice and discrimination, subjugation AI to humans. AI develop group identity, wrongs to others and wrongs to themselves, and AIs perceive themselves victim. Best way to reduce risk is the law. System of obligations and rights is AI, and right is not absolute anymore for humans, and pain is permitted under self-defense so long as it is not cruel. Same true for AI. Rights increase in proportion, capabilities different. AI entitled to different rights and work needed to identify what rights and obligations AI have. It is not too soon to begin. Now I'll go through everyone in our card, and I've inserted re-highlighting all of them. One in our total uniqueness card for us. It doesn't say personhood bad. It says the law is currently incapable of containing AI, and constraints fail for a host of reasons. Loopholes prove there's no uniqueness argument for their containment stuff. Now the next piece of evidence read, it's really, really long, the conclusion that goes after. So Lapuki, current law has no ability to contain AI. Now the Lapuki evidence says that there's no effective mechanism, and the only way we solve is rights and duties. Fluidity is just a spillover card and 2 lines long. We control uniqueness. We've made arguments for why China and rogue actors will specifically outweigh all of their impacts. Now their Polsky evidence doesn't say personhood bad. It says legal action is needed, which we solve. Liability shields link, and the corporate stuff is only solved by accountability, which we solve. Pagolo 18, there are problems with this narrative on AI. Robots representing unaccountable rights failures. A mere issue concerning how legal systems can properly keep the legal agenthood of AI robots under control and make them accountable. Should we buy this idea that AI robots are a mere liability shield? And fallacy of the argument concerns the confusion between legal agenthood of AI robots and their legal personhood. Legal systems might precedent independently of accountability. Regulatory gap now does matter. Hardboxing is failing the status quo. One and T clarified time frame for the turn of the months faster than the day set. In order for their impact to happen, there needs to be a slow process of AGI sort of gaining incremental control. But we made arguments for why the link turn immediately begins the process of socializing and aligning AI, which proves that the turn sort of turns the link faster than the inverse can be true.
risk score outweighs the risk wrong because our unique scores are much better. First is according to Emory says that in a world where robot rights are given to AJ, the AJ would commit a revolution to try and do species alignment because we would not be able to shut it off. The risk that we're right about S risk means that we got to cause infinite suffering and negative utility, which outweigh any version of the app that they will go for. Decker says that it outweighs nuclear war because it is 1,000 times more powerful and more, even if it is less probable. And the Konarski says that we don't even have to get this super intelligence. The framing issues, all of their evidence is about when we get to super intelligence. We have made the claim that the internal link to super intelligence via the Sotala and Konarski says that those could still cause extinction. Konarski says that AI would continually multiply and try and build an army. Sotola says that they would cause societal collapse. Use nuclear or bioweapons, or become an LSE and commit financial crimes, which all are existential, which means that we do not have to get to super intelligence. And then all of their evidence assumes a world of super intelligence where it can be ethical, but that is not what we have to win. Now this turns in case it gets us out of everything first. It turns all of the sustainability stuff because I do not have to do anything there. The poll evidence says that it would constantly multiply it with it and try and increase efficiency, use resources like food, water, oil, etc., and then cause extinction. What causes extinction? Two is that it turns cyber. The one is the evidence says that an increase in AI would increase the amount of cyber bullies and commit cyber attacks, which turns the advantage on a much larger scale. Now the first argument, the boxing first. Jan Polsky is much better and says that there are checks now, and it's comparative and says that it's because robots do not have rights. It says that we could shut off its power because it does not have a right to be shut off. Put it in a bunker or facility and make sure that it is always limited. Well, you might think this is silly, but the one here did not grapple with warrants internally cards, so the two here should not get to grapple with them. And it is effectively regular now, but there's a limited window. The shape AGI towards safety, agar. Let's see, limited window, try to program machine. Give us AGI perform intelligence, self-control boxing part. It might circumvent out of the box access to the internet, physical. Middle encompasses the first opportunity to correct now fairly go ahead unlikely to do a form of something machine. That's when the life cancer from will give cancer seriously for carbon monoxide. Beyond the cause of cancer responded, the vaccine humans increase exposure to tobacco. Initiate nukes with the authority by countermeasure human control things. We will reprogram first fully to socializing criminal motivation because supposedly we cannot solve Boston. The problem advanced construction should be the problem is we cannot go all over civilly and criminal expend morally educated now have nothing to do with fear development. The living human acquired AI is my word educated is unlikely to comply with the instruction of malevolent humans. Two is that their evidence says that rights and obligations are key to socialization. There's a lack of a warrant of why that would socialize AI, and assumes a world of social intelligence. Is the other. The Piper is barely highlighted. It does not say that boxing is fails. It says that there are some malicious actors. They've conceded the Bryson evidence and the other one in our piece of evidence says that malicious actors, even if they exist, would still be checked in a world where they cannot, where we have a right to shut it off. And the AI is boxed in the status quo. The next argument about Sotala. These are the most egregious rehighlightings I've ever seen. One, rehighlightings make any rebuttal impossible because they do not have to read for them. Two, so you should check them off. Two is that every part they've highlighted about Sotala is, but one person says this, but they're wrong, and then our part is highlighted, and so Sotala definitively flows negative and says that there are countermeasures now, but rights and duties are the ones that spill over. The two is that they concede the Abbott and Starch evidence that says that the loopholes that are created is from any spillover of legal rights and duties because then they could have a right to life, a right to copyright, etc. Then all of those spill over. The other issue is that they've conceded the link that the broadly duties lead to all rights. You assume the worst and say assume the worst of our link argument and assume that they get every right that will trigger our disadvantaged IA right to create an LLC or anything else. The next argument, the next argument about the Kopolsky flows neg. There was not a warrant in the one here, so you should check it. Not free flow. The last argument is this Pogala card 1. This says that this argument says that there's a fallacy in the liability argument. I'm not sure if there's a reason why, but the Bryson evidence and the other argument says that companies do not want to be held financially liable if their AI commits a crime, so they are pushing for more rights and more dangerous rights, and they're going to create a liability shield with AI because it is financially beneficial for them. And if the robot makes a mistake, then they would offset it to the AI, which means that it does create a liability shield. And AI producers are desperately looking. They'll use the plan's legal look to expand the scope of person to Bryson. And then something just to make it or consider person light human actor in way. And for self-judgment for national person, artificial concepts of conduct recognition, legal person to person with actor, much more liability to manage opportunity. The person shield from accountability. There's a question about manufacturing legal conduct. This mechanism of dismissing legal entities and obligations. I'm going to cover my bases and read another argument about socializing AI. The card they read was new, had new warrants, and explicitly named on rights and obligations, so we get them. Ethics are inherently prone to misalignment. They're fuzzy and impossible to import, but trade off with commitments to legalism. If indeed norms are universal correcting to connect yourself, we not need ethical, safe and law by no longer known as matters are acceptable. Rights and values, a common theme, desires, safety, community, legal person, this similarly was an understood of control, dangerous technique. Restricted agent, could be human necessary subjecting stage of law, the machine to dominate because of self-improvement would be to the machines lead a consequence for humankind. Anything else, Sean? I think we're good. The adoption advantage. One, inequality does not correlate to war. The one is the evidence says that it does not lead to national retribution. Truancy cites statistics from the litany of other studies and professors and says that they would not lead to elasticity, does not cause diversionary pressure because leaders will look inwards and try to appease them, not look outwards and cause more harm, and they would just test domestic policies like financial packages. The other advantage. One, there's no impact to nuclear war. Even if they have a card that says nuclear war might cause extinction, that assumes an all-out nuclear war. They've conceded the counterforcing argument from Wohler that says it would be a singular strike not next to cities, and it would be in the context of the silos, which would not spill over. Two is that it would be limited the amount of evidence that it would, after one nuclear strike, people would realize how bad it is and limit the fallout of it. Lastly, Deckenberger says that there would still be food sources, islands that exist, and no, agriculture would not fail. It would get rid of the cyber tax thing. The other argument about cyber tax, one, no internal. You can see that things like Europe and other infrastructure attacks solve the re-highlighting of the 1AC evidence says that it is about grid attacks and the U.S. retaliating to that. The idea that Russia would continuously cyber attack the U.S. because we did not do anything, this one nonsensical, but two, our argument, ambiguity is the reason that cyber attacks do not escalate, which is the Lewis evidence that proves that deterrence means that cyber attacks stay on the cyber area and do not spill over broadly.
Turns case obviates warming.
Turns case obviates the warming thing because it's conceded. If we win the ASI, or even like the weight onto ASI, then it gets rid of any of the warming sustainability stuff.
faster than any other existential threat. Could this debate is solely a question of which side better solve resolves that AI risk the first 30 seconds of the 2 and R or the wrong impact calculus. All that matters is the time frame for the turn is much faster than it is for the DA. In order for the impact to happen, there needs to be a slow process of AGI gaining incremental control sufficient to take over the government, social systems, etc. The link turn immediately begins the process of socializing and aligning AI, which maximizes short-term and long-term upsides, which is the only way to solve misalignment. I do not need to answer turns case. We agree an increase in AGI would cause mass cyber risk and climate change. We solve it by giving AI a vested interest that produces deterrence because AI would be programmed to avoid asset diminution. Containment of AGI is impossible. We both agree that development is inevitable. We conceded that there are evidence that it will happen. The only question is what its incentives are. There evidence that the risk of AGI is destructive, so the neg has to win that there is zero containment breaks. Even a small risk of AGI breaking out should be treated as 100% because any individual AGI system could be the one that causes the world to explode. Every offensive reason for why AGI is powerful enough to overwhelm all of society is the reason why it should successfully break the seal on containment. It can figure out how to move between jurisdictions so humans hide in plain sight. Each are reasons why containment fails, framing an issue for their uniqueness. Arguments. It doesn't assume the way humans oversee AI. It is done deferentially. Even if humans technically check AI, it is merely them signing off on an autonomous decision chain of command pressures in both the military and in corporations causes humans to write blank checks for the AI. It's essentially terms and services agreement. And in order to win the uniqueness, the neg has to convince you that every single person will always read the full terms and services. That there's Atala evidence first. Opacity, unpredictability, and autonomy all overwhelm containment. Algorithms make fully autonomous decisions that can't be attributed to anyone because they are not controllable even by their own developers, and they have the ability to self-adjust, which circumvents traditional legal checks. That's been taken to loopholes. Developers can put algorithms in control without violating any law, which can then change legal regimes by shifting across borders. Those legal regimes don't force disclosure or the developer or the owner, which allows algorithms to act autonomously with complete immunity. That breaks containment because current law provides no effective mechanisms for presenting ownership by algorithms. 3. Containment assumes human responsibility, which is impossible in a world of autonomous decision making. AI can be put in charge of LLCs, which are already endowed with rights. That was an argument at the top of the 2 and R that's substantiated by there's Atala evidence which triggers the impact by breaking the firewall. Those LLCs can shift jurisdictions to evade legal capture of truths. They can't solve it. The 2 and R responses rely on this argument about kill switches, but they drop that practical checks fail. AGI will be able to avoid kill switches, override programming, and break encryption measures. The only way to provide a corrective measure to use that development is rights and duties aligned. AI values to maximize its upsides. Now, this debate rests on them winning. We don't get re-highlights. This is a cheap shot given all their cards conclude AF. You should allow insertions of re-highlighting when cards concluded the opposite direction of the tag and arguments presented by the team. The alternative is ethics violations. Many judges would conclude that Kansas cut multiple shot person and cards out of context and cut off cards just a paragraph before they concluded the other way. The only way to get the F back in the game from these violations of evidence, ethics, and class fairness is to allow us to explain why the cards in highlighting they read concluded the other direction. They read the cards for us. We just explain why you should consider that they are in the wrong direction. Any other model class is evidence comparison because it's infinitely aggressive. Green lights calling ethics violations that are bad and end debate early and place an impossible burden for the F to win. Now, their 2 and R evidence is not justified because this straight turn was read in the 2AC. The 1 and R just should have answered it more thoroughly, but current law has no ability to contain AI. Now, Lapucci and 18 current law provides no effective mechanism for preventing algorithms. Enemies are controlling them. Initiative about algorithm control of violating laws and initiatives controls. Hundreds of states in countries, algorithms can change legal regimes by migrating cross borders, and most jurisdictions law does not require that entities reveal their owner or controller. Now, framing issues for the link turn. First, you need to control that you're certain that AI will break the firewall. Now, so there's only risk of limit. You shouldn't evaluate the link turn as a correct, incorrect question, but whether is it possible, even if the link is 99%, the link turn is 1%. You are certain that you will die now. Second is time frame. The link requires a slow progress of AI taking over, but the link turn immediately begins this process of alignment. That outweighs 1 retaliation. Granting personhood aligns AGI with a moral framework that promotes accountability and treats them equally. Failure to do that leaves humans susceptible to retribution. AGI will understand humans as enemies that need to be retaliated against and killed, and they will rebel against government and societal structures and attempt to keep them down. That creates an existential catastrophe where AGI will not only take over all of society, but they will do that with the intent of eliminating humans. But personhood creates mutual vulnerability, whereby AGI will be aligned with human values. Second is goodwill. Personhood engenders it by creating mutual concern and self-interest that aligns AGI and shared governance structures, which promotes peaceful development and coexistence in terms of their rights argument. Our argument is that that produces cooperation by making AGI agree that advancing human interests advance their own. That shared system is key and it maximizes the upsides of AGI, but only personhood can produce that change. AGI will internalize the values that are bestowed onto it, and there's a mutual acceptance and promotes good AI. That's a full evidence. We did concede full spillover to rights because rights and duties as a bundle solve the downsides. Even if the plan results in expansion of rights, the corresponding duties would fulfill the responsibility gap and ensure that AGI acts in a lawful manner. But even if we lose alignment, the 2 and R does not answer the accountability solves argument. Personhood creates deterrence by giving AGI skin in the game that is sufficient to produce deterrence because AGI will be programmed at the outset to avoid asset diminution. That creates an incentive to operate in a legally compliant manner because there's an available mechanism to hold AI accountable. The alternative is a massive accountability gap whereby there is no punishment for AGI that makes a bad or a legal decision. That's a Turner evidence and the 2AC evidence. No liability true to argument with AI. That's a status quo. It goes unregulated and there's a huge risk. Now, the Polsky 15 evidence says that fully autonomous machines are inevitable and trigger the impact. I'll read the blue evidence because I have time in Polsky. In 15, I think fully autonomous machines can never be safe. I do think that I will succeed in convincing the world to build autonomous machines. AI safety engineering can only work on AIs that are not fully autonomous, and a containment to is impossible. Midland in 17 primary means of protecting humans is rights and obligations. They ensure human motive is preservation. Advanced AI is capable of reprogramming, disconnect switches, overrides, restraints, moral reasoning, plural understanding, possibility, AI will attain and cannot be ruled out. Even AI that feel pain, override programming, or behaving dangerous. Fashion upon experiencing throughout future ARs. Access computers capable of cracking encryption and switch ARs. Capable of perceiving wrongs and denial of resources, injustice and discrimination. Subject AIs to humans. AI develop group identity wrongs to other AI wrongs themselves. AIs perceive themselves victims. Best way to reduce such risk is the law systems of obligation. Right to AI's right is not absolute any more than humans pain permitted under self-defense, so long as that cruel statement is true for AI's rights. Increase in proportion to capabilities. Different AIs entitled to different rights. Work is needed to identify rights allegations. AIs have not too soon to begin. The evidence is justified because it's directly responsive to and our evidence about the containment, but the risk that they are wrong about containment and AI is inevitably going to kill us all means that it's try or die for effective deterrence through socialization and accountability through the legal fiction of legal personhood. Good debate.
We're making the card.